Welcome to the Nilvah Nexus, James the Idol Smasher at gmail.com. If you want to join in the conversation, please feel free to get in touch with me here at that email address, or you can join the Facebook page called the Nilvah Nexus Weekly Torah Study, kind of a hangout. Today we're celebrating going into our 4th year straight of doing the Thursday night Torah hangouts. It kind of became official when we started Devarim or Deuteronomy way back 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever. And we are still going strong. So unless some of the old folks used to come in here and know about it, hopefully they'll be joining us. We'll see how that goes. Just chatting about next week's topic, which it might become today's topic. And our friend Doreen Dotan out there in Sfat has been a big activist of child trafficking and all things attached to it. She was, and this is before it became a media thing, you know. When Trump took over, he made it an effort to get rid of human trafficking. She was kind of exposing it long beforehand, and she suggested a topic, and I think it's a fantastic topic. So that will be next week's topic. Today, it's Torah party. I'm here for the party. We start Deuteronomy, and I got my Gutnik out, ready to go for the explanation of the title of the Parsha, which happens to be the same title of the book that we're starting this week. The difference between this book and the other 4 of the Torah is this one is one that was actually written by Moses. A little bit at the end by Joshua, but this is Moses' last speech to the Israelites as they crossed the Jordan, or before they crossed the Jordan. Whereas when you read the other parts of the Torah, it explores, every time you hear, you know, and Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, Hashem spoke to Aaron and Moses, saying. In Deuteronomy, Moses speaks directly. So we'll clue in there. Let's see, here we go. Devarim. Look at these are the words that might be exclaimed upon encountering something new or different. Thus the opening phrase of our Parsha, these are the words which Moses spoke to all the Jewish people. There you go. He comes to teach that these are the words which Moshe spoke to all the Jewish people. Comes to teach us that words of Torah should always be looked upon as something new and exciting. As our sages said, they should be new in your eyes every day. However, to change the way we think and act to the extent that we have genuinely adopted a new approach is no less than a miracle. For if the definition of a miracle is an unprecedented change in nature, then totally fresh outlook on Torah and divine service also represents an unprecedented change of our nature, a personal miracle. In order to help us perform this wonder on a daily basis, God gives us the gift of sleep. At first glance, sleep appears to be a total waste of time. For how is the purpose of creation advanced when we're lying in bed? Why did God charge us with a mission to improve and perfect the world, only to handicap us with the need to spend a significant portion of the day out of action? In truth, however, God made us need to sleep for a positive reason, for after a night's sleep we feel like a new person who is able to break free from the limitations of yesterday. So since God wanted the quote, words which Moshe spoke to all the Jewish people, unquote, to be new in your eyes every day, he built into us a mechanism which makes a miracle of changing our nature a little bit easier. When I first got into Torah study, they said, Deuteronomy is the book you want to start a child on. I think we all think Genesis would be the great place to start in the Bible. But they say the Deuteronomy is because it's the simple stuff. I want to say simple, but it's the civic stuff. There's no priestly duties explained. There's not it's all common law, if you will, Israeli common law, Israelite common law. So it's better to start a child out there. Dry answers. It's easier to teach a child than unlock the book of Genesis, which perplexes grown scholars to this day. So you're supposed to start out with Deuteronomy. I'm glad you made it, Rosalie. I thought you were working. You had the fire pit going. You're about to crack a beer. I said, have one on me. And you're like, yeah, you too tomorrow. Well, I have an extra beer here, and now you're here. So that means you and the beer.
All right. No, I have to work next weekend, so next week, so I won't be here next week.
I had this open on the wrong. Here we go. The book of Devarim.
It's 11:21 in the Gutnick.
All right. Is there anything anybody wants to bring up or talk about by any chance? Anything on anybody's mind?
I'm good.
David, anything on your end? Nope. All right. Well, we've got the appointment of judges. We've got the mission of the spies told again. That's always a fun story. Actually, it's very sad. I was talking to my wife today about a thing that people do where it's just so easy to negativize. I don't know if that's a word. To deliberately go out of your way to make something negative. And I know people of old who were like that, who were just there's always a way it can't be done no matter what it is. You know what I mean? And it's kind of that attitude of, well, that'll never work. We got to be positive people. I was told I was naive the other day. And I got a little upset when they said that, but honestly, I'd rather be, you have to condition yourself to, I said this yesterday in a hangout I was in. I got to be in another hangout. That was interesting. You have to condition yourself to see the positive side of everything. John's real good about this. Yohanan's real good about this because he's real big on we don't talk bad about the dead kind of a thing, if we're talking, we always try to look for the best in everybody, or you're supposed to, and he's real good at catching me on that when I have a tendency to get forlorn, and John has a tendency to remind me that we should always look for the good in people first.
Yep.
Unless it's Hitler. Nothing good about Hitler. We're permitted in Hitler.
May his memory be erased.
One day. One day. Announcement real quick here early on in the hangout. Rabbi Katz Get Soul Strong is now open. It's an online yeshiva forum and collection of serious Torah studiers, particularly for the non-Jew. It's for anybody. But he's been working on this thing for months on end. I'll have a link on it. I don't have a link now on Facebook. I don't think I've done that yet. It might be in there, but it might be down farther. along the way too. But get Soul Strong now open for business. You can also go to Soul Mazel, the Soul Mazel channel here on YouTube, and great place to go to get blown away. Really is a great place to go to get blown away. For the link here, I'm going to post this in the Nilvah Nexus Facebook. Facebook decides to with it. Okay, that's not it. I'm going to leave it alone. Got things to do. Things to do here, but honestly, I don't even know where to start. You're kind of getting a recount of a lot of the stuff that's already happened in this week's Parsha, and a lot of that throughout Deuteronomy. I mean, there's nothing new in it, but there is extrapolation. There is further explanation of that which was already presented earlier in the Torah. That's about it. Okay, well, I guess we'll shut this hangout down. I got nothing. I got nothing today. It's been a long day, and I got nothing. So we're going to explore something that Rosalie in the Nexus every week. We get some good juicy stuff.
The one Torah file. Oh gosh, what is it? I posted it earlier today.
There's Torah Anytime and
yes,
Medea.
the Torah Anytime. That one is great. I like that one. That was a very good one. It relates to you guys.
That's a good chunk of chat. That's a good read.
It's a very good read. Rabbi Rabs will like it. He's our hockey buff.
That'd be cool if Rabs came in.
I asked him last week. Well, the Little League, the area Little League guys, the championships are going on, and he's being supportive of them, and so he's busy.
Yeah, I saw a picture of him by a baseball diamond. I didn't know what that was about.
Yep, he is a very huge supporter of the Little League and all that for there in his area, and they're having their championships, and they're doing the championship finals and things like this, and he's predicting them, and so far his predictions have been pretty spot on. So he's one of the big. He's all about the kids and the baseball, and God bless him, let him go.
Heck yeah. He used to be on a Little League baseball team. He put a picture up years ago on MySpace. Him, I think it was the Mets. Rabs, if you're watching, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he played on a Little League team called the Mets. And he had big glasses, too. The wide-rimmed glasses. And it was awesome.
But that's where he was last week, so I did extend the offer. I private messaged him. I'm busy, can't talk. I'm good. Okay. Thanks for the invite. Gotta go. Which is fine. Yeah, he's doing what he's doing, and God bless him, let him do it. But yeah, if you can pull that up and you want to read it, it's really good. It's about, I can't even remember the guy's name. Hal Brooks? No, something Brooks. He was a hockey coach for the Olympics, and he put together a team of amateurs, and that was the year they won. They beat Russia and Finland and won the gold medal, and how he did it. And then to make the thing, the connection, he says that the name on the front is more important than the name on the back. And they were playing, instead of playing for their individual universities, he literally pounded that out of them. And he says, what's important? The name on the, who do you play for? The United States of America. They finally, the one kid finally got it, and he let him go home from practice. And once they got that and drilled in their brains, they got together and started playing like a team instead of arch enemies and old rivals and individuals, and they came together as a team. That's the nutshell of it. But then they go on to say that every Jew should remember that the name on the front is more important than the name on the back, and they all have a place to play. And I thought it was very well written and very good.
Also want to thank David, put the digital Dead Sea Scrolls over here.
Nice.
And that's neat. That's something I'd like to explore sometime. I appreciate that. Have you read them much? Are you familiar with the Dead Sea Scrolls, David?
I don't know if you can hear me. It's pretty loud in here, but I've looked into it only a little bit. But there's some interesting, like you can see, because it was from a different time period, some different spellings of things. You know, the language was very mildly different. I'm not sure how much exactly. They didn't have, that was before the, oh, I forget the term, but you know, the points, right? The vowel points. So the vowels are actually in the text with the Matrix lexicon.
Yeah, no vowels. When you get the teeny tiny itty bitty little writing and you're trying to read something in Hebrew and you just can't tell what vowel that is. That's real, that's a lot of fun.
That's why I only do shit like that on computers.
Blow it up.
Now let's read. Why not? Mr. Charlie Harry, the name on the front. Yeah. You may have heard the name Herb Brooks. He coached the 1980 United States Hockey Olympics team after retiring as a player himself and leading his alma mater, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, to 3 NCAA championship titles in the 1970s. But Herb Brooks' U.S. hockey team, did I say Brooks' U.S. hockey team, was not what you imagine. The roster did not consist of all-time professional athletes. It consisted of a group of amateur college students. But even that wasn't the biggest of their problems. Of the 20 players on the roster, 13 came from rival universities. 9 hailed from the University of Minnesota, and 4 from Boston University. It was just 4 years before, in 1976, that the raging fight broke out between Minnesota and Boston teams at a semifinals hockey championship, with punches being thrown left and right. Since then, these teams had not been friends, but virulent enemies, foes. And now many of these same players who had previously been unforgiven rivalries were asked to be teammates and work together. It was a tall order, but that still wasn't the entire picture. The United States did not enter the Olympics merely to have fun. They wanted to win. But against whom would they have to contend? The Soviet Union, who had won the gold medal in the previous 6 of 7 Winter Olympics. And the Soviet team was not comprised of amateurs. They were stacked with a professional lineup of international players. It need not be said that the dichotomous and amateur U.S. squad, which was also the youngest national team, was a far cry for matching up against the all-time Soviets. But Herb Brooks was a fearless leader who was determined to persevere and contend against the long-standing champions. Brooks was ready to push his team to the brink and teach and train them to seamlessly play with creativity, flow, and teamwork. He would work them to exhaustion and condition them to be the best. But there was one problem. Brooks was ready for all this, but only Brooks. His team wasn't. They weren't ready to push aside their differences and become a cohesive unit where talent would meet teamwork and preparation would meet opportunity. And that was a major problem. Months before the opening of the Olympics, exhibition play began as the U.S. team stepped into the ice rink to practice for the real games up ahead. But then came September 17th, and the United States faced the Norwegian national team, only to end off the final score at 3-3. Coach Brooks was not happy. As he saw it, his team wasn't working hard enough and performing their best. And so, as Coach Brooks let the team know if they didn't work during the game, they would work after it. As the final whistle blew, Brooks directed his team back onto the ice and forced them to skate suicides as the arena emptied out. Red line, black, blue line, or red line back, blue line back, far blue line back, far red line back, over and over, again and again. Even after the custodians turned off the lights, the team continued skating in the dark. Again, demanded Brooks. Why was Brooks making them do this? He himself answered that question when the team had previously introduced themselves at a practice after two rival players broke out in a fight. Here's how it went. Jack O'Callahan from Charlestown, Massachusetts. And what team do you play for? Boston University. Next player. What team did you play for? University of Minnesota. And you. University of North Dakota. And you. University of Wisconsin. Coach. Now there stood the team months later, exhausted, skating back and forth up and down the thin ice, or up and down the ice. They could do better, become bigger, and play as a team, but they needed to work as a team. When you pull on that jersey, yelled Coach Brooks, you represent yourself and your teammates, and the name on the front is a lot more important than the one on the back. Again, barked Coach Brooks as the whistle blew for the umpteenth time. Hours later, every single player, without exception, was exhausted and on the verge of collapsing. But Coach Brooks was still not done. Turning towards the assistant coach, Craig Patrick, he gave the signal for the whistle to be blown yet another time. Again, he firmly said. But Patrick couldn't bring himself to do it. He couldn't bear seeing the squad painfully move any further. Again, repeated Coach Brooks. At that point, the lesson was learned. Mike Erozine, whatever. Winthrop, Massachusetts. Coach Brooks paused. Who do you play for? I play for the United States of America. Brooks paused again. That's all, gentlemen. And with that, Brooks walked off the ice, knowing that his team had now seared the lesson into their heart and mind. The name on the front is a lot more important than the name on the back. The 1980 United States hockey team went on to earn the gold medal that year, upsetting the favored Soviet Union in the first game of the medal round, and then Finland in the final game of the tournament. Their victory was dubbed a miracle on ice, yet the true miracle, as Coach Brooks himself put it, was more than the mere victory. Quote, 2 days later, the miracle was made complete. My boys defeated Finland to win the gold medal, coming from behind once again. As I watched them out there celebrating on the ice, I realized that it was a lot more than a hockey game, not only for those who watched it, but for those who played it. I've often been asked, what was the best moment for me? Well, it was here. The sight of 20 young men of such differing backgrounds now standing as one. Young men willing to sacrifice so much of themselves, all for an unknown. Those words say it all, and only echo the message and the team learned late, but thankfully not too late. The name on the front is more important than the name on the back. Here we go. Hang on. Oh, I do not have time for this. Okay. I can't do anything on the PDF anymore.
You want me to finish reading it?
Please, because I can't scroll now,
Okay.
but only on this page.
When we think of unity, we tend to turn me off, James, because I'm echoing out of yours. When we think of unity, we tend to imagine one person walking over to another and saying, "Hi, how are you? Can I do anything to help?" Both of those initiatives are wonderful, but unity goes far beyond that. Unity is when we wake up every single morning and put on our jersey, yet remember that the name on the front is more important than the name on the back. Every Jew, no matter who he or she is or what their background is, plays a part of a team. And every member of that team has a jersey which has the same name embedded on the front, God. We may have different names on the back, but what unites us is the name on the front. The only question is, which is more important to us? If it's our own last name, then we may have a hard time getting anywhere together. Our differences may drive us further and further apart and even leave us as rivals. Unity and teamwork is not simply about being nice. The only way we win a game, in fact, is if we are different. It's not about respecting and accepting our diversity. We only survive because of our diversity. Each one of us brings uniqueness to the Jewish people, which could not be done without. We are all needed members of the team which represents God, and there is a very good reason each of us is here as part of that team. We are not just another nation that has left its mark on the annals of history. Just revisit our point of origin. Enslaved in Egypt, the epicenter of the ancient civilization, the whole world was watching us. Every deck was stacked against us, yet when the whistle blew and things started moving, we left slavery and became God's people. Every one of us signed up for the team and stood unified together as one, indivisible people. We represented the existence of God in the world, and we continue to do so to this very day. With every step we take, whoever we are and wherever we are, our jersey bespeaks of a creator of the world. We all share in this communal mission, and every one of us is indispensably needed for that mission to succeed. Yet what happens when we start twisting our head backwards and gives us a fixated stare at the back of our jerseys? What is the manifestation of that called? Sinus, C-H-I-N-E-M, Kainan, baseless hatred. God tells us again and again, just stick together. Your only success is in the name on the front. You are my people, and I need you because you are proof of my existence in the world. If we look down at another Jew, we are showing that we do not believe in our mission, and we are not playing the game. And if we are not playing the game, then God cannot coach us. The division of... Oops, sorry, I just lost my place. The decision to destroy the second base Hamikdash came when the Jewish people said that they did not want to play. Just as soon as you get back together, Hashem told us, I will come right back. Just let me know when you're ready. 2,000 years later, our answer is the same. Almost. This is what the day of Tish B'Av offers us. We sit on the floor and think over and over again and again about our role on the team and as a team. And then, after many hours of deep introspection, we make a bold decision and commitment to walk right back up to the coach and grab our jerseys. Yet this time, we know which is more important. We know who we are and what we represent, and we are ready to play. We are ready for Mashiach. At that point, we have finally learned our lessons. When you pull on that jersey, you represent yourself and your teammates, and the name on the front is a lot more important than the one on the back. And that is the end of that one. No volume.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for reading too.
No problem.
Yeah, I think Rabs would like that, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. But there's a really small one underneath that one there that I'd like to read as well, because I think it's just as, it's by Rabbi Zachariah Wallerstein. It's called
Please.
Planting, Not Burying. I once received a letter from a girl undergoing treatment in a rehab center in Florida. She had undergone the most unspeakable of life experiences and has been in untold pain for years. Yet she composed the most loving poem to Hashem, full of hope and optimism, from the deepest and darkest of places. Amidst many heartfelt words, she wrote a message most apropos to Tish B'Av. Dear Rabbi Wallerstein, sometimes when you're in a dark place and you think you've been buried, but you've actually been planted. This is what Tish B'Av is about. You can be in the deepest and darkest place in life and believe you are having more dirt and more dirt being thrown on your head. And you wonder to Hashem, what are you doing? Why are you burying me so deep? The truth, though, is that he is planting you. You are a seed that is awaiting to grow. Unquote. This is what the day of Tish B'Av offers us. It is a day of grief, but also a day of growth. Even amidst the immense sadness and sorrow, there shines a beacon of faith and hope. We are not being buried. We are being planted. And that ends that. Volume. You turn your volume up, James. Your volume's muted, James.
Oh, geez, I'm looking on my microphone when I know what I'm.
There you go. You're on.
All right. How are things over on the in the homeland? Gav, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah. Here too. It's that nice humid kind of heat that blankets on you, you know.
Keep it. Yeah.
Thanks. I think I will. What's in the news? So our president says that transgender folk can't be in the military anymore, but everyone's pretty much saying it's because of the surgery bit. Now, Gab, you were saying that there are some trans folk in the IDF, and there aren't problems like that there.
No, you can't be. There's certain rules and restrictions, but you can't be actively taking any hormones, and you can't be. I don't know if you have to be pre-surgery or you have to wait like a certain amount of time after surgery. But as long as you are not planning on having the surgery imminently, as in like during your service, and as long as you can get by without taking daily hormone supplements, yes, it's allowed.
That makes sense.
There was something that I vaguely saw something about the silicone implants, and I didn't get a chance to read it, but there's an issue with the implants.
Right. Yeah, that's a medical issue. I mean, if you have implants, obviously that's not a good thing. I don't think that would. I think it'd probably be barred. But I think even straight women with breast augmentations can't serve in the military for the same reason. So that makes perfect sense. But yeah, no, actually, my spotter was transgender. And I didn't even know most of the time.
That's tolerable, but I just think it's interesting how many transgenders signed up when they started giving out free surgeries. Yeah.
Well, hard to say because they were before 2015, I don't know, they weren't allowed to serve at all. So I mean, it's hard to say how much of it is out of a desire to gain something and how much of it is because, okay, I'm allowed to do this. I actually want to do this now. whatever the case may be, those that are already in should be grandfathered in.
They are, from what I understand. They're just not taking any new recruits.
Okay, I got a question about legality here. I did a story yesterday, which really infuriated me reading it. I didn't like it. The story is 3 men broke into a house to rob it. The resident of the house had a shotgun and killed all 3 of them. The girl who was driving the getaway car heard gunshots and drove off. They caught her, and now she's charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder.
Wow.
That's the law. That's Oklahoma law. That's what my boss says. Jump all down your throat real quick. You know, that's the law. And I said it was unjust, and they got all mad.
Guilt by association, but I don't see how she would be accountable for the murders.
If they were justified. Yeah, the guy who shot them, there were no charges filed, didn't have to go down to jail or nothing.
Well, I understand that. But I don't see why she was charged with 3 counts of murder. Because she was not in the building itself, and she fled. I could see her with 3 or 4 counts of, I don't know if they were armed or not, aggravated assault. But she was part of that group. So I don't know.
Well, halakha does make room for accessories, correct? I mean, if you help in a murder, if you're holding the guy down while the other guy beats him, you're charged. If you assist in a crime, sometimes you can be charged with the same crime that everybody else does for being associated with them, right?
Exactly.
I just don't understand how you can, if there was no murder and it was self-defense, how she can be charged with a murder that never took place. And she's going to be charged with this. And knowing the court's here, she'll be found guilty. The way things work in this state.
Was she was she out of the car helping them do that beginning?
Nope.
She was strictly in the car.
He was in the alley. The 3 of them got out, hopped the fence, went in through the garage. The guy shot all 3 of them. And when she heard the first shot, she drove off.
Wow.
3 counts of first-degree murder. There's another one I'm really unsure about too. It was a big thing in the news where a dude was in Tulsa. A dude had parked his car out in the middle of the road and was outside of it, walking around mumbling to himself. And some people showed up, and he was obviously on some kind of drugs or something. He wasn't acting normal. Would not submit to the officer. Would not follow directions. He was at gunpoint. Don't put your hands in your pockets, all this stuff. Went over to the car and put his arm, or got close to a window, and from the angle, this lady cop shot him. Of course, the lady cop's white. The guy who was dizzy with his car parked in the middle of, like, the double line car was parked like that, was black. And this is during that whole hands up, don't shoot debacle. And big deal. And immediately, before, I don't think there could have been much of an investigation, the DA charged her with first-degree manslaughter. And she got off. And I'm just wondering if a DA can deliberately charge somebody knowing they're going to fail on something. I'm just wondering if this DA with this lady here, the girl, she's like 24, she's a lady, 24-year-old, getting 3 cases of first-degree murder, if they just want to put her through the ringer to teach a lesson, or to, why, how can you first-degree manslaughter on your job? The guy doesn't, and she shot him, and he died. Big embarrassment, and first-degree manslaughter didn't work. I just wonder if this girl does get off, if they're charging with the wrong crime. I don't know.
Bargaining.
I'm a little miffed at the justice system right now. It just doesn't seem very just.
I've been miffed at them for years.
Seems like so many cops just get off without much of an investigation, and there's a backlash. So now they're like they're trying to, oh, we're totally invested. We're gonna just punish everyone. They're like overdoing it for a show, you know?
Oh yeah.
Well, everything was on camera, I'm sure.
Yep. Dash cam and helicopter got some of it.
Well, how busy was the road? If he's parked illegally in the middle of a very busy road, I could see that happening.
Yeah,
and I could see where
if
she's a cop. I can see. Yeah.
The 2-lane road in city limits. He was blocking traffic. Like I said, if this was the double line down the road, his car was parked like that. Wandering around, mumbling to himself.
Not a good place for a Chinese fire drill. No.
No. And you know, and she shot him. She thought he was reaching inside his car. This is not even a few days after those 5 cops in Dallas got shot during the Black Lives Matter protest. Before they were, I want to say shot. They were assassinated. Just get real honest here. Do with a sniper rifle on the roof, taking out cops protecting protesters is an assassination.
Correct.
So, you know, tensions were high, probably freaking out. And they charged her, and they put her, and it was a big show. Big show. Tulsa has a bad history of racism. About a century ago, there was one guy thought that a black dude had sex with his white stepdaughter or something like that. And he got all mad, went and told his good old boys at the lodge and whoever, and they got 800 people to go. No, they got a whole round of people to go out and just went into the black side of town and slaughtered 800 of them.
Wow, yeah, that's wild.
And there were riots and stuff.
That is not cool.
It was a slaughter. They waged war, and black people tried to. And there were riots and stuff, but oh no, they hung him or they did something, or it was something bad. They just got a bad history, and something like that happens. Black guy, white cop, obviously, you know, to protect ourselves from everybody thinking we're racist, we're gonna put this big trial and make a big deal out of it. Shalom, Yohanan.
Hey, John.
How you doing, everyone? What's going on?
Wow.
Testing 1 2 1 2. Mike's okay.
Volume down.
Testing.
Loud. We're just talking about justice. There's a girl who drove a getaway car for 3 would-be robbers. The robbers went to the house and got shot by the owner and died. She took off. Cops found her. Now they're charging her with 3 counts of first-degree murder. I don't think you can do that in the Bible. I don't think that could ever work in the Bible, in the biblical law.
What happened? Say that one more time. Someone got hit with 3 counts of murder?
This girl was the getaway driver for 3 would-be thieves. The thieves went into the house, and the owner shot all 3 of them. When she heard the gunshots, she drove off. Cops caught her and have charged her now with 3 counts of murder 1.
Well, the trial isn't over yet, right?
Yeah, it hadn't begun. She just got charged last night.
They all do that. They all slap, and the charges are outrageous when they do that all the time. That's normal. I'm surprised they didn't slap more on her. I'm surprised they didn't charge her with being Hitler, and you know.
I just thought it was bad that she's got to face a murder trial. Why they would even bring a charge like that up as murder? The guy who shot the 3 robbers, it's self-defense. He was protecting his, himself and his property. So there was no murder. Yet she's charged with it.
Well, obviously obviously the jurors are going to find her innocent, unless they have Goyishkop, unless they have, stupid minds,
I felt really bad for her. I really did. I mean, yeah, she was I don't feel bad for her getting sentenced for helping people rob. And if she hadn't been involved in it, she would be better off. Because in part, she is somewhat responsible for what happened to them. Just wouldn't have think it would have been murder.
Looks like our good friend David is here. Good to see you. I always enjoyed David Malak himself and the president.
Any thoughts in Devarim? Or entering our 4th year of weekly Torah hangouts? I'm speechless right now. I don't really know. My mind's a blank, and I am the worst host ever.
Not.
Devarim, the Book of Words, or Deuteronomy, as they call it. I mean, it's a good book, you know. Is there questions? Do people have any thoughts or comments on the Parsha or anything like that?
We read a bit where we've discussed a little bit here. The fact that Deuteronomy or Devarim is Moses' final speech. It's not actually like the first 4 books, which are God speaking. This is Moses speaking. Yeah, I'm at a loss.
Maybe I'll talk a little bit of Tisha B'Av. It's a holiday coming up.
Yes.
All right, here. So it's considered one of the saddest days in Jewish history. Let me put a link here for people who want to. For those who don't know, Tisha B'Av is the 9th of Av, and that is when the first and second temples were destroyed. Yes, both on the same day. The first temple, and then, what was it, 70 years later, the second temple was destroyed. So the first temple was destroyed, it says here, the Babylonians destroyed it in 423 BCE. And then 70 years later, the Romans destroyed the second one. And so there's a midrash that people, what is this? It's like, is it a coincidence? Is this how could this happen? The same day?
On the Hebrew calendar, and I don't think the Romans were probably aware of that, were they?
Right. The Gentiles weren't keeping out. Oh yeah, this date again. Yeah, let's do it. Hit it twice.
Wasn't that supposedly the same day that Moses broke the commandments that God had given them?
Close. It was the day the spies came back with the evil report of the land.
Okay.
Oh.
So there's a midrash that God rebuked the spies and said, "You came to me crying of such nonsense that I will in the future give you something to really cry about." And so God caused it to happen, whatever you want to say, that this so would happen. But there's other things that happened. I mean, it's considered one of the most saddest days in however I don't know how you would call it. I mean, it's just
days of mourning.
It's just a day. Yeah, it's whatever. However it works spiritually, the day comes out to be the most saddest day. The Crusades started on the 9th of Av of the year 1080, 1070, something like that. On the, of course, the Crusades, they killed a bunch of Jews. They also on the 9th of Av, they say that was officially the day of the Holocaust. Right. Was when Himmler was finally gave the okay to kill Jews. It's considered a very sad day. Very sad day. So we don't do certain things. So during these 9 days, we don't eat meat. We don't.
No leather shoes.
No lettuce. Correct. Okay, let me scroll down and look at the list. We don't eat or drink. Well, we don't drink wine. We have lettuce shoes.
No haircuts or anything like
No
that.
haircuts. It's a custom. You don't want to cut your fingernails. Yeah, here's a whole bunch of stuff. If you want to look at the list, you can. But it's funny because it's also connected. What's funny, we read this list of things we're not supposed to do, these prohibitions. It's also a fasting, by the way. There's also going to be a fast on Monday. Monday night at 8:11 my time. That's Long Island Standard Time. The fast starts, and that's a full 24 hours.
So it goes from the 31st to the 1st then, right? At the 30th
The
to the
1st of
31st.
Av to the 10th. So the 9 days. The first 9 days of the month. And then the fast happens. So the 10th day would be the fast. And so what's the connection? So the saddest day is also connected to the happiest day. So Yom Kippur, the day of repentance, if you notice, I just gave you this list here. This website gave you this list of things you can't do. There's certain prayers. We do certain rituals. And it's all the same things we do on Yom Kippur. So even though it's considered the saddest day of the month, we're also the most happiest time. It's a day of happiness and a day of sadness. That's that. I mean, if there's something else people want to go into, if there's questions, comments, complaints.
Thank you again for the
Compliments.
No problem. I'm glad I was able to send it to you there.
And I want to thank Gav for your link as well you sent. And biblical criticism, the studies, how we kind of lost our way in it.
Oh, the article I posted the other day.
Yes. I had to read through it a couple of times just to make sure I had it all.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think it's real easy for people on the outside who don't know squat to look at any book in the Bible. And I get this from the Torah a lot. Or Isaiah. It was written over a period of hundreds of years. And
you're talking about Deutero Isaiah, how after chapter 45 it's another author? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a long-standing theory in biblical criticism or critical biblical studies.
It was his students, no? Is the leading theory is his students, disciples?
No, so the whole okay, very, very, very brief history lesson. The mid-1800s, especially in Germany, you had kind of like the beginnings of what's called like higher biblical criticism. There was kind of like a school of thought by this guy named Julius Wellhausen, who, basically, this guy didn't believe it was divinely inspired. None of it was. And that, basically, if part of Isaiah is discussing then in the future, and a later part of the same book of Isaiah says that take place, well, then the only possible explanation is, if this is just a made-up thing, if there's absolutely no divine inspiration, is that these must be two different authors about a century and a half apart under the same name. And that's basically what the whole foundation of the theory is based on.
Didn't Isaiah himself claim to have written the book?
Well, yeah, I mean, all the prophets did.
Yeah, no, there's a guy who was like, he got on my case, and he was buffaloing me to the point I just kind of had to ignore him after a while and get rid of him. But it was, because the way the flood story was written, obviously it was a compilation of a whole bunch of different people, and they just put it all together, made it some incoherent,
Well, the Noah's flood story is actually kind of interesting, actually, because if you take all the even verses and you separate them from the odd verses, like you get one whatever, verse 1, verse 3, verse 5, verse 7, right, and verse 2, 4. one is like almost like a complete copy of like what's it, the Babylonian, what is it, the Epic of Gilgamesh or whatever.
Gilgamesh. That's
And
right.
the other one is like more like obviously some of the verses have to do with clean animals, unclean animals. Obviously, someone was a priestly person, had to do with rituals, and then the other verse is obviously just a story. But it's interesting. I mean, there's some things. I mean, they're interesting. The way these people look at it. I mean, obviously, they all think it's Baba Misa, just fairy tales. But I think it's interesting. Sometimes they have opinions that are very interesting.
We have people who are saying that there was no Torah before Babylon. That it was made up in Babylon. Even though there was already a temple erected and a whole nation of people had settled this land and had been there for generations, and even though we have books that date back prior to the Babylonian exile and the occupation that mention Moses and Torah, it was obviously made up in Babylon. That's the latest thing I'm hearing now.
Well, that's not quite accurate. That's not quite the theory. It's not so much that it was made up in Babylon. It was finalized into its final form in Babylon, but it had existed in various forms for centuries before that.
Babylon was good to the Jews. I mean, it was a decent place
for being occupied. Yeah, I heard that it was. They never had it so.
Judaism flourished. They were able to study yeshivas. They were on land, and it grew. I mean obviously after some time, obviously that wasn't true anymore. Obviously they were expelled eventually, but short time. It was a short time.
They were expelled for a while, and then Cyrus allowed them back in, right?
Well, no, didn't Cyrus send them back? Didn't he send them back?
Oh, he didn't like make them go back, but he issued a decree that people that had been exiled by the Babylonians could return home.
Yeah.
Did they all come home, or is that when a lot of them started leaving and going to Yemen?
Only the tiniest minority went home.
Yeah.
It's like the Egyptian exile, only 1/5 of them ever left, they stayed behind.
And then they came back, and they interacted with people that had never left, that were never exiled by the Babylonians. It's kind of a myth that all of Israel was exiled to Babylon. It's not true. But only the people that went through that exile were considered still legitimately part of the people. Like when they came back, there were other Jews that had never left, and they said, no, you're not helping build the temple. We're not marrying into you, and you're not marrying into us. You stayed while the rest of us got punished. So,
ooh.
That's hate. That's straight up hateful.
Ooh.
The decree. Exile happened in waves, and the return from the exile happened in waves also.
It brings a new meaning to squatters' rights, doesn't
it? Well, that's where we get a group of people called the Samaritans. The Samaritans were people that stayed during both the Assyrians and the Babylonian exile, who were Israelites, Jews, or whatever. And then they, when Jews that actually experienced the exile returned, they were basically cast out and said, look, we don't want anything to do with you. And that's kind of when they founded their own religion near Shechem, near Mount Gerizim. They built their own temple after we said, no, to hell with you, you're not part of us. That's where Samaritans come from.
It's interesting because I guess maybe it plays into Tisha B'Av a little bit, because the first temple was destroyed. Why? Does anyone remember what the Bible says? Idol worship. For those who want to give the short to the point answer. Idol worship. It was idol worship. The second temple was destroyed because
Baseless hatred.
baseless hatred. Nice. Baseless hatred. Yeah.
Weren't there people who had like the temple they found? Didn't they find evidence that there was a temple of Balaam? Or am I speaking the right? See, I get Baal and Balaam mixed up. Which one's the god?
Baal.
Baal. Okay.
Ball.
Yeah, Balaam. I think Balaam wanted to think he was God, but no, he had delusions of grandeur, but he wasn't God.
That's all right.
I'll teach in the punches.
Balaam doesn't Balaam die in?
Yes.
He dies in this week's Torah portion, or did he die yet, or does he? No, he died last week.
Yeah.
He was the guy that punched out his donkey.
Yeah. I mean, if I had a talking donkey, well, then I guess he wasn't talking until then. So I guess he's an animal cruelty and a wife beater.
Pretty much.
I like the.
You've been waiting to use that for a week now, haven't you?
Even the lowest can hear from God. Even the lowest of us have a chance to hear from God. If a donkey loving, donkey punching dude can hear from God, think of the potential that people who really try. It's there. It's just nice to know that it's there. That even the lowest can. I mean, if I heard God speak, I don't know what I'd do. I don't know if I really want that to happen, but part of me does kind of. I wouldn't mind it,
New meaning is straight out of the horse's mouth too.
Or the donkey's ass.
Exactly. Yep.
So there was a Baal temple in Israel. They've uncovered, apparently. I mean, of all gods. Thought we learned about that. Thought we learned our lesson.
Well, I mean, it was a popular local deity among Canaanites and Phoenicians.
I put a video on YouTube where the king of Moab, he was a Baal worshiper. Baal worshiper.
There's Baal.
No,
Baal.
the golf course.
A Baal washer. It's funny because I'm reading the story about this king, right? This one of the 7 Canaanite kings, and it's like the way the Canaanites worshipped and what they believed in. It's only going by what from a Jewish perspective, but the way the way it seems is like they work like Christians almost. A lot of Christian rituals.
Really? What the issue?
Yeah. I only did like a quick little snippet because I didn't want to go. I mean, it would have been too long of a video, but it was like they believe in like sun god and the son of God died for them and like and all sorts of different things, drinking blood and eating flesh and
I didn't know that went far back as Canaan. Of course, I haven't studied Canaan. I haven't studied as much as I should, I guess. But
yeah, for those who don't know, Cliff's Notes version is that the church is mostly based on pagan Roman and Babylonian stuff.
Well, there you go.
I got the Roman bit with Nilvah.
Like the little fish hat that the Pope wears. That's friggin' Dagon.
The mitre.
Wait, say that again. The fish, the Pope hat is a symbol of what?
Pope or a bishop. It's this weird little hat.
Right.
It's a mitre. M-I-T-R-E.
Yeah, that. Yeah, Google it. You'll see. It looks like a fish head for a reason.
Oh, okay. A fish head. Oh, wow. That's interesting too.
Why is it like what do you call that? A Neptune or something, like a god of the underworld or something, or? Yeah,
it's from what's that Canaanite god? Dag or Dagon or something? It's a fish god.
Oh yeah, it's Dagon. Oh.
Dagon?
Yeah.
Dagon.
All sorts of pagan shit in the church. It's mostly pagan.
Didn't the Nilevites worship?
Dagon wasn't a Canaanite deity. Dagon was a Philistine deity.
Philistine. Okay, there you go. I knew someone would correct me.
Oh, Philistine, Canaanite. I mean, what's the difference, really,
Those
right?
people.
Huge difference.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, Babylonia. I think Syria. What is okay? Where were the Philistines in relation?
Philistines were Greek people. They were Greek. They were like Greek people who settled on the shore there.
They settled. They came in the Middle Bronze Age. They came by sea. In fact, the Egyptians called them the Sea People. And that they called them the Peleset. Actually, that's what the Egyptians called them. And they colonized on the coast of Israel and what is now today the Gaza Strip. They were very warlike, very sophisticated. They had superior iron weaponry. They were completely pagan, but their chief god was called Dagon. The Israelites, the Hebrew, we called them Lishtim, which is where we get the idea for the word for Philistine. It literally means invaders.
Huh.
Very, very brutal, nasty people. And they kind of drop out of the historical record around the 8th century BCE. We think the Assyrians probably wiped them out and chased the rest back to the ocean.
So the root word for Philistine comes from, or the root of Philistine comes from invaders.
Yeah, they're invaders. Which is why I love it when modern day Palestinians say, "Oh, we are descended from the Philistines. That's why we're called Palestinians." I was like, you realize that means that you're not from here, right?
I found out a person on my Facebook friends list I've known since I was like 14 came out as a supporter of Palestine. And get that mouse out. I clicked that right comment button. I pulled the keyboard out and sat and thought for a second. I was about to ask God what I'm about to say, and I'm like, I really don't have time for a 14-paragraph scratching of a surface. I just couldn't bring myself to. There's no way. I just let her go. I didn't say nothing to her. Bless her. She's a Palestine supporter. I'm like, I'm not going to nix you. You're like family. You are family, but you're an idiot. No. I didn't know how
people can be incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
I do.
I really it's the fact that I can get upset at the average atheist or skeptic saying that our book is a magic book with magic fairy tales in it, and I can get all upset about that and indignant, and I have to remind myself not to lash out, and yet I don't feel as stupid when I think about Palestinians. I really don't. I don't feel stupid anymore because there's a whole bunch of people who can see with their own two eyes. You got food, you got medicine, you have agriculture, like some of the most beautiful agriculture of it. Technology that doesn't interfere with a practice and a love of God. You've got a little bitty I'm about to say a nation state. That's I don't know. And the only thing, Gab, you might know more than me. You're over there. But from what I gather, the people in Palestine and every other place are believing fairy tales about the Jews, the J-O-O-C.
They're raised from birth to hate us. I mean, it's been that way for a long, long time. A long, long time. And they're basic. I mean, people laugh when you say this. They're basically a made-up nationality.
Yeah.
100 years ago, a Palestinian was a Jew that lived in Palestine. Even the famous Prussian philosopher Immanuel Kant, he called European Jews the Palestinians living among us, and that was in the 1700s. So they refused. They didn't want to be called Palestinians before the state of Israel because to them a Palestinian was a Jew, and we don't want to be called Jews, of course. So when we became Israelis after the state of Israel was declared, then all of a sudden they started calling themselves Palestinians. Yes.
That's like saying we're the Utah Indians. We're the Colorado Indians.
Basically what it is. It's basically, it would be like a group of, Palestinians are basically like a group of settlers in Arizona, white settlers, that said, oh, no, Native Americans, you need to get out and go back to where you came from because we're actually really from here. That's how big of a joke it is. I mean, the first time an Arab ever set foot here was in the 7th century. And that they came, they're not natives. They came here and they conquered and they massacred people and they replaced them with their own population. No, they're not. Our Arab Muslims here are the same reason there are Muslims in India. They're colonizers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I got to ask you, I think we might have touched on this, but for the subject, has it always been this bad between Isaac and Ishmael? Has there, or you know what I'm saying? I know I've heard it, you know, I've heard it said, okay, nobody likes being in captivity. Life was bad enough for 2,000 years for Jewish people. I understand this. But has there ever been a time, I mean, has it always been this way? Is it religion fanaticism that does this, or is there always
Esau hates Jacob? That's the answer I give you. It says right there in the Bible, Genesis. Esau hates Jacob. That's it.
Well, they're not Esau. A lot of them aren't really Ishmael either. But
I was about to say.
That's
we
another
could figure that out, could we? There's no way we could know an Ishmaelite from an Arab today. Is there?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
The thing is, Arab identity stems basically from two things. The Arabic language, classical Arabic, and Islam. That's what Arab culture and identity is. Islam, at its very root, and this is not a PC thing to say, Islam, at its very root, is not only very, very violent, it's very, very anti-Semitic, it's very, very xenophobic. You know, look, forget Jews in Israel. Where do you see Arabs interacting nicely with other people in the Middle East? I mean, look at how they treat Coptic Christians in Egypt. Look how they treat Kurds in Iraq. Look how they treat black non-Arab Muslims in Sudan. Look how they treat Berbers in North Africa. I mean, anytime where they form a big enough group in any given country and take it over, no one else is really allowed to exist there. And it's a huge salt in the wound sting to them that we were able to carve out a country for ourselves and take our land back. That is a huge humiliation to them. And it's the root of a lot of their rage. They can't stand the fact that we have power again. And look, some of the things that Islam, not just the Quran, but the Hadith and, you know, the biography of Muhammad. I mean, some of Muhammad's most violent acts in life were against Jews. I mean, look, this is not a new phenomenon. People act like, oh, Jews and Muslims got along just great until 1948 in the state of Israel. Bullshit. Okay, it's a 1,400-year history of, at the best case scenario, we were dhimmis, which is basically second-class non-citizens, firmly under their boot, massacred, forced to convert to their religion. It says absolutely horrible things about us. And so, I mean, yeah, it's absolutely religious.
I had a really hard time getting through the first surah. I couldn't read it after that.
It's rough stuff. There's even worse. There's way worse things in the Hadith. The Hadith is kind of like Islamic oral law. There's sections of the Hadith that say that, you know, the end of days can't come until Muslims wipe all of us out. Like all of us.
But go ahead. No, finish.
So they don't have an idea. If they were to read the prophets that they maintain, every Muslim I've ever talked to has been, you know, solid that the prophets are real. The Jewish prophets are real, if you will. Jewish prophet, horrible. The Hebrew Bible was real. Solomon was real. Isaiah was real. They just, I guess they don't read that.
Well, no, so they read the Quran. And what does the Quran say about those prophets?
I don't.
The Quran does not say that King David was an Israelite. He does not say that Abraham was a Hebrew. The Quran says that all of these people were Muslims.
Well, then the Jews should fit right in, right?
No, according to the Quran, we corrupted it. We corrupted the teachings of the prophets and founded our own religion, while Muhammad started a revival back to the original, quote-unquote, teachings. And that's why we're branded as kafir, unbelievers.
Yeah, Muhammad, he was a Joel Osteen of the 7th century.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, Joel Osteen was like a violent, foaming at the mouth.
What does he say? Don't
revival my
shove
ass.
anything down your throat. Jesus comes first. That's what he said. Jesus comes first.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing about Islam is that
you met an atheist when we got guys like that around.
There was a short time when Muhammad was trying to get like nicey with the Jewish people, and he wanted to be considered a prophet for them and all this other stuff. And you can read about it, if you look into it. Rejected him. They used to pray. Islam used to pray towards Jerusalem. Jerusalem was the capital of the world. It was the most holiest site. Yada yada, and they used to pray to it. That when they pray 5 times a day, pray to Jerusalem. When the Jews rejected him, he literally turned his ass to Jerusalem, and then he prayed to Mecca, which is the opposite direction. Literally turned his back.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what he did. He approached the Jewish community in Medina and said, "Look, I'm a prophet. We're both monotheists. I'll pray towards Jerusalem with you, whatever." And the Jews are kind of like, "Oh, okay, here's this guy, whatever." And he didn't really like that. So after that, there's what's called the Mecca verses in the Quran and the Medina verses in the Quran. You'll notice that the Mecca verses, when Muhammad was, he had a group of maybe 20 followers for his new sect. He's very, very nice, very, very sweet, very, very tolerant and everything. Medina, and he becomes a politician and he gets real power and his movement starts to take off. That's when you see the real tyrant come out, the real monster. And he was. In my opinion, Muhammad was the most successful warlord in human history. He took, in a matter of about 20 years, he had an entire landmass to himself. He had cleared the entire Arabian Peninsula of non-Muslims and was well on his way to conquering half the world by the time he died.
Even more than Genghis Khan?
What about Attila the Hun?
Muhammad was dead by the time the Islamic conquest happened, but he set them in motion.
I hear it's such a weird thing in Israel too, because I've seen video. I've never been to the Holy Land, but I've seen a video of Muslim after Muslim after Muslim. No problem with Jewish people whatsoever. No problem living in the land of Israel. No problem with democracy. And then I'll hear of parades in the street when a bomb goes off or some guy goes on a stabbing rampage and Jews die. There'll be Arabs in the street singing and dancing about it.
Yep. In Israel, not so much. A lot of the Muslims that live inside Israel are more or less secular, not particularly religious. Some are, though. In the Gaza Strip, it's very, very different. Every time there's a bomb, on 9/11, they were celebrating in the Gaza Strip, handing out candy, setting off fireworks. This is a cult. Just to kind of give you an idea, as a society. You know, when you were 12 years old, who did you look up to?
Me,
Man,
I'm going to
12?
say Doctor Who, but I say that sheepishly.
Okay, Doctor Who, very good. The average 12-year-old Palestinian boy has a box full of baseball cards they're not really baseball cards. They trade them back and forth like baseball cards. They're cards with the names and pictures of famous suicide bombers on them.
Good grief.
They have posters of these people in their schools. Look up to them. They have their own version of the Mickey Mouse show. You know, strap a bomb to your chest and blow up Jews. And we wonder why these people are so violent that by the time they turn 18, 20 years old.
We do wonder.
History to me.
And it's all because the Jews came home. And nobody spazzed about it but them.
Yep.
Well, they're just going to have to deal with it. If you, I mean, you can't say you corrupted the law. What could possibly be corrupted about the law? How could you do it? When you've got at least 5 different bunches of Jews in the world, I'll say Haredi, the Yemenites, the Ethiopian. I know there's controversy on whether I'm going to call them Jews because they're more Jewy than I am. Sephardim, you've got the Ashkenazim, and they've all got the same Torah. They've all got the same prophets. Prior to Rome, boy, it works to keep people stupid, doesn't it? Well, I'm with you, Gav. I am.
When I was in the army, they'd come out. Look, and people, like, you don't want anything bad to happen to your kid when there's some type of conflict in the streets. You keep them inside. These people would send their 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old little boys out to come throw rocks at us. I mean, we were soldiers. Obviously, we didn't shoot them or anything. But still, it's just the point. Isn't an ignorant can you get?
Come to America. You might not convert, but you might learn something about people. Our government,
Walmart one day.
the people. You can stack all the Quran on top of a guy's head as you want. When he's here and he's not armed and wearing clean clothing in a civilized environment, and you look him in the eye and say, "Have a good night. Thank you thank you very much." You know, and they're just as appreciative as that will mean that come to America. Damn it, we're armed, so good luck. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't know it was that bad. Baseball card bomber cards. What the hell is that shiznat?
They're also taught that they can lie to people because if it goes against the Quran, lying is what you have to do. So be very wary of people who are treating you nice to your face. They do that on purpose, but they know they can lie. It's a lie. And they know they can get away with that religiously.
Yep. And what's funny is so many people, especially on the left in America, fall hook, line, and sinker for it.
Absolutely.
There's this woman, using that term lightly, named Linda Sarsour. She's a Palestinian American or whatever. She's a Muslim and a terrorist supporter or whatever. She was on some talk show being hosted by this gay guy, and she's describing how great Muslim law is, and this gay guy is like, "Oh, wow, that really does sound great. You moron, log on to Wikipedia and says what Islamic law says has to be done to gay people."
Exactly.
Funny, she didn't mention that part to you on her show. Now, did she?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. She's real pretty lady, but big on. She'll fight till the end. I know, and she's an organizer. And she's got a lot of press. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Pretty lady, kidding me? She has a rat face.
Well, I'm a sucker for women in general.
You have like
It kind of comes with being a straight guy, but I still know a rat face when I see one.
She's pretty until she speaks. How's that? No.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say you have like Christian extremists, right? Which what do? They picket like abortion clinics. They're real adamant in that. And then you have like Jewish extremists, right? I mean, what's the most extreme Jew? I'm trying to think of like a Jewish extremist type of thing. But Muslim extremists, they deal in baseball cards with suicide bombers on them. I mean, that's fucking tough.
They're trading
baseball cards. I mean, for fuck's sakes, what's going?
Well, yeah. I mean,
we got Pokemon here, and they've got trading cards there. Yeah.
Well, what's a Christian extremist really? A Pentecostal that wants to annoy me while speaking in tongues while I'm trying to enjoy my coffee? Ooh,
yeah.
The Westboro Baptist. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, the West. Yeah, they're morons. Okay, I mean, this Southern Baptist preacher, he's gonna pray for me. I'm so scared.
Yeah.
I'm good friends with Christians, right, on the Google Hangouts here, and they say to me they're extremists, right? They go, "Oh, you poor Jew! If you only knew who Yeshua HaMashiach is. Oh, if you only knew." If you only knew your own Messiah, if you only knew, like that's like that's okay. It's kind of like annoying, like like the rabbi saying, "I'm just drinking my coffee, my morning coffee," and But I mean, but a Muslim, I mean, what the fuck? What's going on? I don't know how people, and it's such bullshit because people always love to go, well, there's bad Christians too. And I go, okay, one Christian 40 years ago blew up an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
But Muslims shoot rockets at people every day.
You have to look. Well, I'll say this: the
I don't understand how, James. How do you? I don't understand how people can say that. I don't understand how these people, how these SJWs and these liberals and all these other people. Oh well, Christians are bad people too.
Well, look at Ask an Indian how the Christian church treated them, and stole their children, chopped off their hair, and made them convert to Christianity. That was 100 years ago.
Is that really Christianity or is that culture?
Done in the name of Jebus with a Bible in an angel's hand posted on a propaganda board.
I don't know if we can blame Christians for that. I think we can blame culture for that. I think we could blame the white man for that because obviously our cultures are very different.
Yeah, is that a common thing of Christians? Hell no, not even in America. You're right. You'd have to go back 400 years.
Don't chop up people's hairs now. Right. It's not like a thing now.
When did the Reformation happen? 1400s?
1800.
1300s?
No, 16, yeah.
1500s.
1500s.
Okay. We got David and the rabbi saying 1500s. We'll go with that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the rabbi. He's
right. Yeah. But, okay, I think you have to look back prior to that to find, and even then, the peasants weren't out torturing people for being pagan or Jewish or anything. It was a select few. I mean, I'm not saying that the pagans didn't have their faults or whatever, but they stopped kind of publicly torturing people. There was no Inquisition. It was a very enlightening time. Not saying Luther was great.
Thank you. I was just thinking that.
Well, the Protestant. I mean, I think there might be some. I don't know what the word is, but I wasn't. I mean, they did some heinous stuff too. I mean, I think I read somewhere they would like kill Catholics, beat up, hang them, and.
Oh, dude, they hated Catholics in America. They went
on riots, killed Catholics.
Well, John Calvin, he actually arrested and had Catholics put to death.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't. Yeah, I was just gonna say then. Yeah, they're not. Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. Amen. But you're right, John. We have to look back at least 300 years, 400 years.
But at the end of the day, I mean, at the end of the day, Judaism. I guess the whole point of that whole spiel was Judaism instills a sort of value system, Noahidism, Judaism, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
It instills a value system that is positive, an extremist view that is positive. Like in this week's Torah portion, God tells us you have two choices, life or death. God tells us what? To choose life. That's our extremism as Noahides, as Gerim, as Jews. That's our extremism. Life. Fighting for life, fighting to defend life, fighting to plant trees, tree planters, like you always like to say, James. The tree planters.
Tree planters. How can you? I mean, come on.
The hippies, for fuck's sake, right? Extremism to other people, the worldly extremism, Goyim extremism, totally different. That's all I had to say to that.
Amen.
I'm just joking that last point. I'm just messing with you.
No, I was talking to Rose.
I love the Goyim.
When we first opened the Hangout, I'm like, man, I need John here because John has he calls me out on it. He reminds me you have to see the positive in everything.
Exactly.
What did I talk about? Where's your John when I need him now?
Yes, you did. Yeah, that's exactly what you said.
We can talk about the evils of the Christian religion all day, but let's not talk smack on the man. He was a good guy. Let's be better people than that. Oh man. And it's true.
Jewish extremism. How can I make it a positive thing? Exactly. Where's John to make it positive? Because that's what Judaism instills into me. The values of Torah, the values of Hashem, is to see positive. How can I elevate this? What bracha do I say to elevate it? What things do I do to make it a better place? Make it a better world?
Exactly. Hate the sin, but love the sinner.
Islam just might have spread itself a little too thin. I can't see any way out for them. And I'm the first guy who wants to embrace the Muslim.
It's so funny. 2 weeks ago, I'm in a hangout and people were shit talking Muslims, right? And somebody said, you got to bring in a Muslim that's a good guy. So they're like trying to scrounge for some Muslim to come in. Like, who can we find that's a pretty decent guy? And I'm thinking to myself, who can we get in here? So someone says, I'm going to send an invite. Yeah. Stop, Rosie. You're going to mess up my side. So someone goes, I'm going to type in and find a good Muslim. So 5 minutes later, Frank pops in. Green Soul Sufi pops in. And I go, oh, yeah. Of course. He's a token good Muslim.
like the good Samaritan.
Yeah. The only one we found. The only Samaritan we found.
Sorry, but I look at Frank as a United States Marine, and that's it.
I used that once in a hangout. I said to someone, Jesus was a bigot. How dare he say he was the only good Samaritan? I would be offended by that. Everyone broke out laughing.
Dude, we rolled on
that once
here. Our hangout started with that, and I don't think we stopped. One time. Gav says that the Sufi are an extreme minority. Man, I tell you, when I read up on Sufism, and I read that Rumi, I have baggage, I guess, with the rest of the world. But when I read like Taoism and when I read Buddhism, there is a happy innocence to it, and there's a joyousness when I read it. It bleeds through the page a bit. Not that it's like some divine thing, but there's a joyousness to it. When I read Rumi, and when I look into Sufism, I get the same vibe. Frank was very, very right and very adamant that he he'd draw that line, that big, thick black line between the Buddhist and the Muslim, and he had every right to do that.
Right.
But that's the vibe that I get. I get almost a Buddhist, a happy, fat Buddhist happy. You know, the big, fat, happy Buddha guy. That's what I get when I read that. When I read that, I'm like, you know, I get a sweet innocence.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're badly persecuted in some parts of the Muslim world. Like ISIS kills them on the spot.
Fuck ISIS. Did I say fuck
India.
Nexus? Fuck ISIS.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But I mean, you know, Sufis, look, they dance in circles until they get dizzy, and that's their form of worship. Does that sound dangerous to you? Not to me. I mean, they've reinterpreted jihad as less of a holy war, as more of like a personal,
An internal holy war. Yes.
struggle to better yourself.
Like Kabbalists, kind of, sort of.
You can't knock that.
Right.
That whirling dervish, Frank was telling me, was they remember it as the dance that David did.
Absolutely. In fact, there's a famous rabbi, Rabbi Bachya ibn Pakuda. In a lot of commentaries, he's just called Rabbi Bachya or Reb Bachya. He lived in North Africa in the Middle Ages, and he used to go visit Sufis, and he wrote pretty extensively about them. In fact, he called them pious Gentiles. He called them Hasid, you know, basically Gentile Hasidim, because of how kind they were and how nice they were, basically.
Oh. Yeah, well, I obviously we're gonna have to fight some of them because that's what they want, and they get what they want. They should get what they want. I think we're better at it.
I hope so.
Wait till China. Wait till they try China. Oh, that's gonna work. Go take China. Yeah, once you hit that brick wall in the Western world, which you will, try China. See how well you do over there. Look at all them heretics. You can't even say God in public. Are they going to? Are they over there doing the Chinese? I haven't heard anything now.
I don't think Muslims could ever successfully take over China. They love pork too much. Love pork products. I mean, everything is pork. These people love pork. I was looking at a menu the other day. The Chinese takeout. It's like pork. I mean, this is everything on the menu was pork.
Szechuan, yeah.
Fried pork, sweet and sour pork. Oh yeah. And that's a tame Chinese menu to what you can get over there in the mainland. But you never hear that, do you? You never. Can you imagine ISIS? Can you imagine a Muslim army marching on China from the west? Can you even envision that as even doable? How far could they get? 3 miles? 4? It wouldn't work. They could never take China.
They're trying.
Are they really? Well,
yeah. Well, there's Muslims that live there. They're called Uyghurs. They're an ethnic group that lives in China they're all Sunni Muslim. And they do the same shit there, suicide bombings, blah, blah, blah.
Really? Now, see, we don't get news like that here.
No, because you know why? China shuts that shit down.
Yeah, China, yeah.
It's like, okay, you tried to blow up a mall? Okay, we're going to take 100 of you and shoot you. Basically is how that works. Doesn't matter which ones of you are guilty. Someone's got to die today.
They literally just line them up against the wall and just take them all out.
Yeah,
They do it on TV, don't they?
What's that?
Doesn't China don't they do their public executions on TV?
Sometimes. Yeah. They do them in soccer stadiums. Like it's like a it's like a come in sit down event. Here, so you want a hot dog? Get your popcorn.
It's like the Romans used to do with the Colosseum. Yeah,
Colosseums, yeah.
Romans used to do that. Yeah.
Or in Saudi Arabia, they do the same thing. It's done in a public square in the middle of the capital on the same time every Friday.
Oh, somewhat civilized.
Oh yeah,
Nothing like publicly executing someone right before Shabbos.
yeah. That's what they do. I've seen
This This way, when you're done, you at least when the sun goes down, you know you'll be clean. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, they even bring in big trucks with sand. They lay sand down to soak up the blood and everything. Very well planned out, methodical.
I had something really good to say, and that just no. Okay. Let's just. I'm gonna get egotistical for a second, and God forgive me if I am being so, but y'all don't know how glad I am to be a Noahide Ger. Whatever. I mean, I've never been proven wrong more in my life, and I've never been more happy to be proven wrong in my life than I have since I've taken to the Torah. I think of myself 10, 15 years ago, and I would probably beat me up if I met me. And I've just learned I never really thought that I would have, because I always noticed that Jews are very sympathetic people. At least the ones I meet, the ones I talk to online, the ones I've seen at synagogue. When I went, it was very sympathetic people, very sympathetic to a cause. That thing of striving to look for the better in a person, you know. And I'm a very cynical, angry human being. I think by nature I'm a fighter. I'm good at it. I like doing it. I've just, you know, seeing myself now from where I was, my friends now from where they were. I say friends, I guess my fellow folks in you know, Judaism. It's I can't be happier. I could never be happier to be a God-fearing, Torah-loving, Israel-loving, siding with guy. There could never be a better place in the world. We've got the best. We've got the best. We've got the best thing going. We really do. Torah folk have the best. I think we've got the best thing going. And that's not to say that, you know, we are better than the next man. It's that we have a job to do, and I can see now. I can see a definite dividing line between this thought. I mean, it's not foreign in the world outside, but there's a thought process and a really, 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 really great morality in Torah, in Judaism, that nobody else knows. It's like this it's like an iceberg. We get the tip of it, and when you look deeper into it, it's a whole island, you know, it's a whole continent. This thing's huge, you know, iceberg, whatever. We see this little tip of it. We have the best thing going, and Baruch Hashem, and I'm so glad that people are coming to Torah and coming to God purely, or at least in a much more pure sense than we were. It warms my heart, and I can say that now with such fervor because of what lies against us. You know, my family was always about, you know, that you go to a sermon that makes you feel good, and you go to God because you're hurting and you need to feel better, and yada yada yada. And I've come to God, and I tell you one thing: the last thing I've gotten is peace. The last thing I've gotten is kush. You know, I have not gotten a serene world with Torah. I'll tell you that right now. I've actually found I have more enemies in the world than I could have dreamt of. But I handle it much better, I think. I'm still happy, even with that. Yeah, I'm not griping, y'all. You don't choose God, and I mean, you really don't choose God and get fluff out of it. You just don't do it. That's an illusion people have in religion, is that God brings you the fluff when you need it. You need your pillow stuffed with extra cotton balls. Angel comes down, stuffs your pillow with cotton balls, and you feel better, and things are softer, and that sermon was so hard. I don't think nothing wrong with a good sermon. Hey, I've heard a few good ones. Our Mennonite preacher gave a couple good ones. The guy who married us. Not knocking, you know, this. I'm just saying that there's this. God is. It's all about cushy. When I'm in my lowest, I reach to God and I feel Him. Public figure, the labor commissioner, was stabbed 17 times by his son in the view of 20 people at Brahms, you know, ice cream shop, happened here, labor commissioner, and suddenly his wife has become a celebrity. And every time you see her, when some official's going on, she'll be standing over in the side of some official meeting with her hands up in the air and her eyes closed like she's blind, waiting for magic rain or something, you know. And she came on not 6 days after the death of her husband by her own damn son, came on my radio freaking station, and sorry, came on my station and in one of the shows and says, I've never felt more close to God than I do now. I tell you, you know.
That's just evil.
What, isn't it freaking warped? And they freaking eat it up down here.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's filthy. I felt like I had to go shower listening to her say that. I couldn't leave. I was at work, but ugh. What?
It's downright creepy.
We've got something good here, y'all. We need to defend it. We need to hold fast and don't let go. And God willing, more people will come to it. We've got something good here. This is, yeah. All right, y'all know that. Who am I talking? I'm preaching to the choir. Sorry.
No.
Starting to get a little patched.
That's right.
Four years, John.
That's good. 4. Good.
Going into our 4th year, dude.
That's good. 4 years.
We're doing something right. Yes.
I don't know what we have here going on here, but I know that we're the only ones who do it regularly.
I apologize. I haven't been coming as much as I have been. I think I missed last week, and I missed the week before. I apologize. I've just been busy. I've been busy.
You're with me all the time, dude. You're with me.
I am?
Yeah.
Spiritually.
Yeah.
Spiritually.
Really?
Oh, okay. Good.
This
Good.
is not,
It's like when you... Go ahead, David.
I'm going to say, this is not acceptable, John. We're going to start treating this like church. Every time you don't come, we're going to ask you if you're an atheist.
You know, when James
John,
walks...
you missed the meeting.
That's what I tell them at work. I tell them this is my
when
church.
James
Y'all don't
walks-
miss your church. This is mine.
When James walks in the sand, you see 2 set of footprints because one of them is mine. I'm there spiritually.
There you go.
Oh.
you know those pictures of like with the guy and he's like Jesus is like what next to him? Is that what they do though, David? Do they accuse people of being atheists if they miss a week? I didn't know that was a thing.
Well,
You get excommunicated.
I'm exaggerating, but essentially, yes.
there is a bit of
man.
where were you last week when I was here thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And when it actually did, when I stopped going to church altogether, my parents actually did think I'd become an atheist, and my brother as well.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've gone
man.
through that. I've gone through that a little bit. It wasn't so bad. Looking back, they're actually far more sympathetic than I've seen elsewhere, but not quite as sympathetic as I would have expected. You would have thought that your son, that your nephew, whatever, your grandson, well, you would have thought that it would be good that he came home, or he found God. I just found it with the wrong people. Not too bad.
They'll come around, maybe.
Think about it, Gav. All the crap you guys have gone through for thousands of years, and there are actually some crazy people from amongst them who are adamant. Some dude asking if I believe God exists. I'm like, I don't. It's not a matter of belief anymore. It's apparent. It's obvious. What if you found out the Bible was wrong? It's like, I don't think that would matter at this point.
The Bible can be wrong all it wants to be. The Torah is still right.
Well, that's what he was saying, but still, I found something. There's something real here. There's something, and it works. We are the coolest dudes on the religious spectrum right now. Y'all know that, right? We are the James Dean, Fonzie, Elvis, you know,
Pinky Tuscadero.
I have to be honest with you. When I miss a week at temple or something, like if let's say I go to I don't care if people know where I go, but I normally go to Chabad of Roslyn, right, to daven on Saturdays and Shabbos. But sometimes I go to like there's another shul that's modern Orthodox. I go there sometimes, and it's like I go and I come back, and it's like I miss a week, and they like look at me like, you know, what are you, not a chassid anymore? What's going on? Where were you Saturday? It's like it's kind of weird, because that's why I was asking David, like, do they do that? Because it's like they do that there.
A little bit, yeah.
They think They think I gone off the track. They think I gone off the path. Like I'm a rebel.
Who was it that worshipped idols secretly? Who was that?
Esav.
Esau? Okay, yeah. No, I'm not pulling an Esau. I'm just fine now.
Hey, I mean, I don't look at Esav as I mean, I look at him differently. But if I can, well, I guess he wasn't supposed to be a good dude. But if I can attain his level, hey man, he's buried with the patriarchs and matriarchs. I mean, that's not too bad of an end.
And it says that, you know, the word will overcome the sword, that Israel will win over Esau, Edom, and that doesn't mean they're eradicated.
You know, there's an obscure I think it's in the Gemara. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. But it says that when the Mashiach comes, that we'll how did it phrase it? That the physical world would be more apparent. I'm sure that the word they use, greater or will overcome the spiritual. Like like right now we're like the way the world was during the Garden of Eden, it was very coarse and very physical world. Spirituality couldn't really penetrate physical objects, right? Like you take a glass of water, right? Like today, we take a glass of water. Before we drink it, well, before a yid drinks water, we say a bracha on it, and that bracha penetrates that water and elevates it, right? Because the world we live in, it's like reality can overcome the physical. But when the Garden of Eden, you didn't have to say a bracha, right? Adam, you know, they ate a little, whatever they did, they ate, right? They didn't say,
sure.
You know, they didn't have to
remind themselves. God walked amongst them.
Sure. And then like Noah came, and the Noah's flood came, and then now you have Abraham and Yitzhak and Yaakov, and in those generations up to Moses, spirituality now too, but it was separate from physical, right? But then when you have Moses, and then with Moses they married, the physical and the spiritual married, and that's what a Jew is. A Jew is both physical and spiritual. So you have that marriage.
Yeah,
but it says
heaven and earth.
Right, heaven and earth, the marriage of heaven and earth, very beautifully put. But it says in the Gemara that when the Mashiach comes, the physical will overcome the, like it will go like the Garden of Eden, like how it was just physical, but it would be the opposite. It would just be spirit. It would be, just spiritual, but now it would just be physical, like it was then. It would be like physical, like then.
It's like going from a third dimensional to fourth dimensional.
Sure, however you want to put it, and I find that to be so interesting. Things would be different. I mean, there's obscure verses that say things like, you can eat pork. When the Mashiach comes, we'll be able to eat pork and shellfish, because we finally be able to whatever the way, however it works. Right now, we can't. The reason why we can't eat pork, we can't elevate it. Right? It's too coarse. It's too. To me, I don't know what the word is. I don't really know what it is. Right? It's impure. It's too impure. Right?
And
but then something's going to happen in the Messianic age. Something's going to happen where the world is going to be totally different. Go ahead, James. What were you saying?
We don't have the fortitude to elevate pork, shellfish, crustaceans.
Fortitude, sure, yeah, whatever word you want to use.
Yeah.
We don't have the power. We don't have the whatever it is.
I'm hoping that there's a little bit, and maybe it's because I'm sentimental to some extent. I'm hoping that when the end comes, that a little bit of everybody gets to make it. We've got one where everybody just accepts, and we be as a species, if you will, we decide to elevate. We get to that point, then Mashiach comes, and there's the other one. Of course, Ezekiel says great strife before the Mashiach comes. That there won't be many of us left. And I'm hoping that there are righteous amongst everybody. I want to believe that. That would survive, that would be worthy, that would be a hop, skip, and a jump, not even to a 7 law Noahide, if you will, But I don't know. Then you got this one thing that separates, everybody from everybody in Torah, and that's, do you adhere to the God of Israel because he's God? Or are you just smart? Are you just well behaved? That's why I actually lost a couple of friends. I haven't said this on camera before. I've lost a couple of friends when I said the 7 aren't enough. The 7 will never be enough to change the world. The 7 only maintains the world so it doesn't get worse. It isn't until the world comes to God. And people got mad at me for that because I believe the 7. I'm not, the 7 categories of law. I don't reject them. I still live by them. I still think by them. But it's not enough. It's never enough. That is never going to be enough. And I would just hope that we would get this revelation before it gets too late. The more people we can get this.
What's the numeratical value? Is that the word numeratical? I don't know. I think I invented a new word today.
Numeratical. I got to write that down.
Yeah, you like that.
The
value of you know what the number value of Torah is? Comes out to be 611. How many commandments are there?
It's 13.
So there's 2 missing, right? So there's a So I mean, we all heard this one before. Even Jesus Christ himself even taught this. There are 2 commandments. The God spoke 2 commandments, right? Love God with all your heart, right, and all your might.
Love your neighbor as yourself.
And to love your fellow as yourself.
Right.
Right? So the Torah could be summed up in 2 commandments: love God, love the fellow as yourself. You can also word it as Sinai. God spoke the first 2 commandments, right? I am your Lord, your God, and then have no other gods before me, right? Those 2 commandments, and there's a whole spiel about how the Jews died every time, the converts died every time, and so they had to be resurrected, and they said stop. So there's a saying that God, so really the 611, the Torah 611 was given to us through Moses. Moses actually, so I guess fits in with today's part. So this would be today's Parsha study. So it's really the whole Torah, whether people like it or not, whether it's like what the Muslims say, Jews rewrote it or whatever, however the conspiracy goes. It's through Moses. Moses gave us the Torah, the 611. But the two basics that it comes from, the basis, the foundation is from God. The first two commandments of the Torah, the 10 Commandments, and everything is built on top of that. And so I guess where was I going with this?
So it's like the two go as read, or should go as read, and we need to be taught the rest. No.
Oh, why 7 isn't enough, right? I think that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe I lost my train of thought. I had such a great thing I wanted to say, and how. Oh, anyway, I think what I said was good enough. Anyway, I don't know. I had something in my head that I was gonna. Oh, I think this is gonna be great. James is gonna love it, and I totally forgot what I was gonna say.
Then he must not be ready to hear it. Then
I could elaborate. With the
I'm losing. Maybe it wasn't. Yeah, maybe it wasn't that good after all.
I mean, you have to go to God-fearing people to learn about the 7 usually. So you would think that God is already in there, but God's not in the 7. It's like you're not required to pray. You're not required to acknowledge that the Lord brought you that meal, that the Lord brought you that flat tire. You're not required to know that. And so if we want to go to the Hayabisa, you're worthy of death if we don't do it. Okay, so we can't knock a guy for not knowing or not thinking all the time. But the 7 won't save humanity. It's going to take something else. It's going to take shock and awe, or some kind of. I don't think the 7 are going to bring people to God. I don't think following 7 laws is going to make you a better person. It's going to keep you from being a worse person. You know? I know it's
well, shock and awe didn't really work real good over in Sinai either, so that kind of kicks that out.
That's true. That's certainly true.
And if they say that Elijah is supposed to come back,
one more time.
If Elijah comes back and he knows the differences between everybody, and he's going to be pointing out who's who. That's what we're going to go on.
I do think in some ways that Judaism might speak from both sides of his mouth. I don't know if that's the correct way of using that, whatever that saying, to speak on both sides of your mouth. In one way, I guess they want to go, oh yeah, just stick with the 7, you're fine. And then on the other side, it's like, well, doesn't it say all knees will bow? All nations will accept Hashem as their God. It says this all throughout the Tanakh. It says that the Gentiles will finally realize their God, that their gods are false, and that Hashem is the only true God, and they'll come and they'll accept Torah. It even says things like that. Accepts Torah. They all bow knee to the king. They use those terminology. If you ever read it, the Haftorah. I think last week the Haftorah even talks about how the nations will come and help build the 3rd temple. I think that's what it said. Didn't it say that?
Yeah. It said I don't know which Haftorah. We did read.
There was one this recently, last week, the week before. So it's like.
Yes.
So it's
and then people are going to keep coming. After that, once the temple gets built. Yeah, I know what we're talking about.
And that connects with the commandments of. Go ahead, David. You want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to point out the relevant verses. Isaiah chapter 66.
Chapter what?
Isaiah 60 what?
6.
Isaiah 66.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Isaiah 666. I hope.
That'd be a fat Isaiah I'm not familiar with. Here I am. I don't have a good Chumash that has the full Hebrew Bible. I have the 5 books of Moses. And then I have a JPS Tanakh. And I am flipping through it, getting really, really confused because I'm reading it left to right, or right to left. I mean, that tells you.
Yeah. But what
On
was
the
I gonna?
soft-
What was I gonna end with? It was like. It's like, yeah, in a way you're right, James. It's like it's on a way on a way it's like in a way it's like, yeah, 7 isn't enough. It's like
It's a great way to maintain.
it's like how it's like what my rabbi used to say. It's like what my rabbi used to say to me. If we live in the year 2017. If you're still riding a horse to work, there's something wrong with you. We have cars now, right? If you use an old phone with the rotary phones, you stick your finger and you go forward, and you have to go like, no, we have digital phones and we have cell phones now. We have mobile phones. 7 was good when you were Noah, when you lived in walking around, you know. Yeah, 7 was good, especially during that time. Like the Bible says, men were having sex with sheep and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 7's good.
He was
today
righteous for his generation.
Noah was a righteously man, perfect in every way, and God found grace with him, and He saved him. There you go.
For his generation. I mean,
for his generation.
He might not hold up today compared to some people.
Well, it depends on how you want to look at it, the positive or negative. But the point being is, yeah, it would have been great if you lived that. Yeah, if you were in the Academy of Sham, or if you were. But it could pile much more. We expanded upon it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like. Say what you will, we have Christianity, we have Islam. I know we kind of just whatever rants we were doing, but that's why Maimonides even declares Judaism, Christianity and Islam
are doing a service and they don't even know it.
They're doing a service, and that's what Gentiles should choose. They shouldn't be choosing. Noahidism is great. I mean, that's like the best we call. That's the best we got. Unfortunately, in the community on Hangouts, but it's sad because there isn't an option. There isn't another option, and there should be.
Absolutely.
Whatever. It is what it is.
The world. The world needs God. To see God in all things, or at least to strive to, or at least be reminded in the worst time, there's God, He's winking at you, don't worry about it, do what you have to do, you're going to come out of this. God's, everything's taken care of. It's difficult to come to that. But, and yeah, we're talking, I think, Gab, you actually had a name for it. There you go, you see the Hebrew, open the book. My little daughter's in here. She could care less if it's a kid's book or Tom Sawyer open, but if it's a book with Hebrew letters, she has to go turn pages.
Hi, Catherine.
Hello, Catherine. Hope she heard that. Oh, you hear your name. These are Getty's pals. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I agree. It was Gab that brought up something. It's like, couldn't we consider paganism improved atheism? Is there any way we get any? Actually, there's a part in the Talmud. You were saying, Gab, that this says, yeah, it's better to, be humble to something than to reject it completely.
I'm sorry. Say that again, James.
There's a verse in the Talmud that says it's better to be a pagan, basically, and summing up, better to be a pagan than an atheist. Because at least even with multiple gods, you are humbled to something greater than yourself in this world.
You know, it's funny. The Talmud also says it's better to be It's better to be a fool. No. What do they? How does it go? It's better to be gullible. It's better to be foolish and gullible than than a skeptic and a non-believer. Why? Because if you're a skeptic and a non-believer, you'll deny everything. You'll be skeptic of everything. You'll deny everything. So when someone comes to you with the truth, nothing else. But if you're a fool and gullible, you'll believe the lies and the truth. You believe anything. So eventually someone will come to you and tell you the truth. And you accept that too. It's funny. So that goes in with what Gab was saying.
That's beautiful, dude. That's actually pretty awesome. Oh.
Wow.
All right, sweetie. Bye. Honey.
Zechariah 14. Let's see. I want to read this. 14:16. Let's take a look. Let's see. Then the survivors of all the nations that have attacked Jerusalem will go up year after year to worship the King, the Lord Almighty, and to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. If any of those peoples of the earth do not give up, peoples of the earth do not go up to Jerusalem to worship the King Almighty, they will have no rain. Bracha, right? Blessings, rain, water, mazel. If the Egyptian people do not go up and take part, they will have no rain. The Lord will bring them the plague that afflicts the nations, plague as lack of Torah, inflicts the nations, and they will not go up to celebrate the festivals. Yeah, exactly. There you go. I like that one. What else we got? Isaiah 66. Isaiah 66 says, verse 18. Where's 18?
I know their
18's
actions and
where
their
18.
thoughts. The time has come.
And
All the nations and the tongues, they will come and see me in my glory. Excuse me.
I will set a sign upon the nations, and they will send those to this, and I will send some of those who survive in the nations to Tarshish and to the
Tarshish.
Libyans, and Tarshish and to Libyans, Labians, and to different nations, and then the distant lands, and they will proclaim my glory among the nations. Exactly. And then they will bring all the people and all the nations to my holy mountain in Jerusalem as an offering to the Lord, on horses, on chariots, on wagons, on mules, on camels, and say, the Lord, they will bring them, and the Israelites bring their grain offerings to the temple of the Lord in ceremonial clean vessels with the priests and the Levites, and say the Lord, and then, yeah, exactly. And they will and the nations will sanctify your name, and your descendants will endure, and from the new moon into one Sabbath to the other Sabbath. Yeah, this is good. This is good stuff.
Mm-hmm. In other words, we have a place in this world. We have a place in the world to come. I used to think I was not worthy, but anymore it's like, I better hang on to this ticket. At first I couldn't, at first I stumbled because, I'm not worthy of this. Who am I? How dare I? What I'm kind of a schmuck too, right? And now it's like, okay, I can't screw this up. I gotta hang on to this. I can't lose this.
Hello.
I absolutely hate it when people say that they're not worthy, or they're filthy, or they're Christians kind of talk like this sometimes. Oh, I'm a wretched sinner. I'm filthy. I need a sin. I need a savior. I just want to. I say to them all the time. Only if you knew how beautiful you were. Only if you. I mean, Hashem created you. How perfect you are. How beautiful you are. It's just it's like a pet peeve of my.
I agree with you.
James. I mean, when you say you're not worthy, that is Satan's speaking.
Yeah, and it hangs on.
That is absolutely.
It hangs on to you. It's a hard thing to shake. Take it from me.
It does, and I even catch myself sometimes thinking that way. You know.
It's especially hard, I think, for those of us who were raised in the church, because there's so much Gnosticism in the church, and there's a lot of asceticism that's creeped its way in there. So you're taught from a very, very young age, literally before you can remember, that you're an evil little shit, and that God doesn't really like you. Or maybe depending on the denomination, God likes you an awful lot, but you don't really deserve him to like you, and it's literally a miracle that he doesn't hate your guts and kill you.
Yes.
And I think that's totally antithetical to what the scriptures actually teach, that Yahweh is loving and kind and made us, and he made us essentially good. That's what he said when he made us. And for me to argue with that seems pretty stupid.
Amen. Yeah, exactly, David. Thank you.
Now imagine a society of good people permeated with the notion, and even if it's not directly taught to you via your church and family, yada yada, it's just already there in your society. What a great thing for totalitarians, huh? You've bred into them the notion that they're already sheep. I mean, you've
That's
got
the whole point of it. That's why it was done, because totalitarians, i.e. Emperor Constantine, deliberately inserted that into the religion.
I mean, I've said it before. I gripe about it. I guess I want to get out there. I have to talk about it. I'm still working through it. It's the honey. It's Torah time, sweetie pie. Oh. Oh yeah, the Oklahoma Congress opens their session each year with a reading from Romans that says that authority comes from God, authority is God, and that to rebel against authority is to rebel against God, which basically drop kicks Torah into the Sea of Reeds when you think about it.
I have some thoughts on that, actually, but
I mean, if you were to take it in a Torah-based context, it makes perfect freaking sense. However, it's not being used by any means as a Torah-based context. They think they're doing God's work by being there. That's not, that's the ass backwards. And I know that Oklahoma is not alone in this bullshit thinking. Yes, God sets authority, but whatever it is they're doing up in Washington or what they do in these capitals around the United States, as good God-fearing people as Americans and Oklahomans and any of us might be, you've got a ruling class out there that thinks that, that puts themselves above other people. There's a totalitarian thread that runs through, especially I think it's up in Nebraska and Iowa as well, but I can say for damn sure that throughout what we call Bible Belt, a definite ruling class that sees people as sheep, and that they're the few that are sparked with this vision of how to lead these sheep, because they're not a sheep. They're smarter than that. They're better than that. I think that's also instilled in the teaching that some are not worthy, because that means there's going to be some that are. And it's always a chosen thing by man,
I always got a kick out of it if you go to like the CIA building, and I think it's Langley. What is it? What's it? The place, Washington D.C. Langley. What is it built? What is it? The headquarters
of the CIA's headquarters.
Yeah, like there's a building, right?
There's the Pentagon, but that's not CIA.
Is that the? Is that
anyway, to the point?
No, well, I gotta know what I'm talking about. Hold on a second. There's a build. Maybe it's the Pentagon. Maybe you're right, Rosalie. Pentagon.
It's in Virginia.
In Virginia, thank you. If you
See,
when
this
you
is
walk,
why churches.
go ahead, David.
Sorry, I shouldn't interrupt.
No, you probably have something more clever to say than what I was going to say.
No, I was just gonna say this is why churches only let one person speak.
Yeah.
So
And when
anyway,
he
the
gets it off,
CIA, what about
back
it?
to God. Beforehand, the priest would stand, facing God like the rest of the the people, and somehow the church turned it around, where basically, if you want to look at it, the priest turns his back on God and faces the people. And that's not the way it's supposed to be done.
Good point.
Islam has created a base. Christianity's created a base. I think we can see that's obvious. They don't even know it. The means that they're undoing, which is a good thing. To undo somebody from slavery and idolatry is a good thing. So I'm not saying this, but to unravel that, they what they have will be their undoing.
So here I put a link to it. If you go to the CIA headquarters, it doesn't say where it's located, but when you walk into the building, it literally has a quote from John 8:32, and Jesus says this, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. It literally says that when you walk into the CIA. I mean, when you go, well, whose truth? Your truth.
Yeah.
It's like an oxymoron. It's like kind of like the court, like the Congress, praying, God bless authority,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
That's funny because the Mossad, Israel's CIA, they have a Bible verse as their motto too. It's by wise counsel and deception shall you wage war.
No way.
From Proverbs.
Proverbs, yeah.
Like a magician would, misdirect through deception. Is that what? Well, let's look at it. Why deception? I say that like a magician. Magician's colors are red and black. Red to attract the eye, black to conceal from the eye. Does that mean by intelligence? By a mind game as well as brute force? God says not to lie. This is Israel we're talking about. They're commanded not to lie. In war, unless God states that all things are fair. In Proverbs it says, by a deception, what was it? Through deception and, y'all? Somebody?
I don't remember what he said.
Proverbs it says, through war and deception you shall, through something and deception you shall wage war. I don't remember the other word. Through something in deception, you shall wage war.
Huh.
I mean, that's fine. Proverbs.
Proverbs.
Let's, take a look.
I'm going to have to ask Rabbi Google here. Say.
Through guidance and deception, you shall wage war. That's a short version of it. Here's the full version of it. Surely you need guidance to wage war. Victories won through many advisors. And the link that I like that picture. If people think on the link, you can't Mossad the Assad. It's like a funny picture.
it is 25 minutes after our usual time, so I'm going to go ahead and nix the live broadcast. If you've made it this far in the video, congratulations. You have no life. No, if you like it, the Nilvah Nexus Facebook page, James the Idol Smasher at gmail.com on the YouTube end. On behalf of David, Yochanan, Gavriel, Rosalie, and myself, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, y'all.